What's up, everyone? Thanks so much for coming out to Skratcher Melbourne this afternoon, round number 2. I've been invited out today to kind of show off a little bit of what I do. You know, we're all interested in turntablism and stuff like that, but I did a university course about 10 years ago, a sound design course, and they taught us a lot about more than just, you know, what to do to tweak sounds, but also how to design your own software, or how to sort of, you know, learn how to integrate technology in with whatever you're doing creatively. And I discovered this application called Max MSP, which is like basically it's a programming environment or a development environment. So what we've got up here is basically some Max programming. When you think about programming, generally you think about, you know, hard lines of code, but Max MSP actually works by lots of little blocks, and you patch them together in order to perform different functions. So as an example, we'll create something nice and new and easy for everyone to sort of get an idea of what you can create with Max. So let's start off by creating a slider. So here is a slider object, and you can connect up some devices to that, and this device will tell us what number is coming out of the slider. So for people who know MIDI, MIDI comes in 128 different sort of 128 values per message. So, you know, 0 all the way up to 128. So, okay, if it's smaller than 127, which is the highest value, then 0, else 1. Okay, so we've just created a little object. That object is going to tell us when this little fader is at the top value and when it's not at the top value. I'm going to put in a little object here, and we're also going to put in another little object called the counter. And the counter object basically just tells you how many messages it's received in. And Max works with languages, a little message called the bang message. Sorry if this seems like a university lecture, but it's, yeah, class is in session now, guys. I'm going to be testing you after this. So the idea is, so now we've created an object that is, if you watch this little guy down here, I'll just increase his font so you guys can all see what it's doing. So what we've just done is we've created a slider that is going to tell us every time you're changing position. So we can refine this a little bit more. We're going to put a little select object here and say select 1. And now this is going to tell us every time the fader closes, or we could flip it around to show you every time a fader opens. So can anyone tell us what this little object is measuring now? Clicks. It's clicks. Yeah. Thanks, Belle. So what we've just created is pretty much a little object that we can link up to a piece of MIDI. So we can enable this slider here. We can link that up there. And now all of a sudden, we've just created ourselves a little box that will measure how many clicks we're doing. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and we can, like, you effectively could, like, you know, measure how many clicks you're doing per minute, or, you know, you're able to sort of track on what you're doing. And, you know, with all of this stuff going on with this equipment that we now have, we're all sort of just using the functions that the software built for us. You know, we're basically only using the functions that we're given. But with Max, you know, you can create your own behaviors for MIDI controllers. You can create an application that will talk backwards to your MIDI controller. You can get it to talk to your software. So that's a bit of an idea of what I'm working on at the moment. There's, you know, there's turntablism. You know, we're working on portablism at the moment, where, you know, everyone's working with their portables. I think what I'm kind of touching on here is data-driven turntablism, where we're creating and we can derive all these different types of data and these different types of information from what we're doing with the turntables. So that's just a quick example. In my DMC routine, I built an entire backend. So there's all of this shit going on behind my DMC routine before some stuff even reaches Tractor. And I wouldn't say this stuff is cheating. Like, you know, it's not as though I've pressed a whole button that will do a scratch for me. But, you know, there's all sorts of things that you can do with Max. So I'll grab a little sample or something like that. Okay, so now my max patch for my routine is doing a few things. I'm a big fan of scratching with the up fader, and a lot of mixers out there let you control the curve of the up fader. One of the things about the Rane 72 is like I wanted just a little bit more control about how the curve ramps up. So I designed myself a little thing here. So as you can see up the top, I've built a bunch of presets about what the curve looks like. So on the left-hand side of the curve here, down the bottom is 0 volume, and all the way up the top here is top volume. So you can see here when that's the curve of my fade in. But what if I wanted to make something sharper? So anyone who's got a Rane 72 at the moment will probably tell you that I can't get it to cut sharp at the top. You can get it to cut sharp at the bottom, but you can't get it to cut sharp at the top. So basically I've invented my own little thing that will let you create your own custom curve. Does anybody remember the Vestax Samurai mixers? Yeah? So the Vestax Samurai mixers had a controversial device on it in the crossfader, which effectively let you, let's say you could fake the funk to a certain degree. You could cross the whole movement of a fader. So what you can see me doing here is, as the fader is going to travel from minimum to maximum, the fader volume is actually going to jump up a few times before it's even reached the top. So keeping in mind so like that's pretty cool. Like if come on, Spell, have a go. Spell, you're gonna just have a go. Cool. So yeah, like you can do stuff like that. I don't know if I'd rock up to a battle and start pulling out the old samurai mixer tricks, but that's definitely one of the things you could achieve with, a custom device like this. No, fuck no. But one of the things I did do in my DMC routine is I busted out this little guy. Now, anyone who does production with Ableton and things like that have heard about plugins or VST plugins and stuff like that. So, what if you could host a VST in a program that you've made? So. Okay, so at the moment, cool. So I've got Max listening to the pads. It's creating some notes. I've also got the crossfader turning notes on and off, but also cool. So what's going on there is, I'm sharing all the sauce with you guys tonight. Okay, so let's crack open the VST. People may have heard of Serum before. Serum is like a multi-dimensional kind of synthesizer, soft synthesizer. It's got a little effects panel, kind of cool. You can apply different effects in there and stuff. But what I've got going on in one of the instances of the effect is a filter. You guys have seen filters before. Makes the sound go wow, 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 which is effectively what I've got going on in my max patch. This guy here. Whenever I move the vinyl, that's having an effect on that cutoff amount. So. So yeah, that's an idea of some of the things that you can kind of create with MaxLib. There's really no limit to what you can create with it. It's just like we're at the point now where we can design our own functionality. We don't need to wait for the brands to give us the new bits of software that we need. If you come up with an idea, you should be able to make it in this. And I think we're really going to be able to push forward with, making more creative routines and production styles that are more based around turntablists, because we've been pushing for so long to get this validated as an instrument. There are just so many more ways that we can integrate it. Like, just because you've got all these knobs here, doesn't mean you have to use it for filter or bass. Like, when was the last time you saw someone EQing the treble or the mids in their DMC routine? Like, you got all these redundant knobs that you can do something cool with. So let's start, thinking of ways that we can integrate it. All right. So that's one of the things, or a couple of the things that I've made. I guess getting onto the big one. Anyone play any musical instruments? Right, if you play violin, you're not. Okay, we all play turntables. But anyone play a more classical musical instrument like a violin or a piano, or they'll at some point have had to have learnt some form of sheet music, and a way to kind of transcribe what you're doing or what you should be playing and how to play it. For turntablists, there is actually a notation method out there. It was developed by DJ Rane, shout outs, from the States. It's close to 20 years old, this notation method. But the idea is that across the x-axis, left to right, you've got time. And then on the vertical axis, you've got where you've moved your vinyl to. So you move the vinyl up, get a line that goes up. When you move the vinyl down, you get a line that goes down. Describing to other DJs how you do a scratch, but it's also kind of really difficult to be very accurate as to how you've done a scratch, because we all know that most of scratching is like happy accidents. You can really practice to do something specifically, but what makes your own creatives, what makes your own unique style is very much, those little techniques that are unique to you. But sometimes it's really difficult to just explain or show to other people how you did it. And what I'm trying to do is bridge that gap, so that we will hopefully soon have a way of really seeing what our scratches look like on paper or on the screen. So as you can see, I've flicked back over to Serato, and you're probably wondering what the hell I was doing there. I think it's a bit too technical for this time around, but I'll explain it to anyone who wants to know, because it's a backdoor for getting some usable information out of Serato without doing any hacks, without doing any black hat kind of hacking or anything like that. We're not breaking any rules. We're just using the functions that are available to us, and we're going to start piggybacking off the back of that data. So get ready for another big old messy max patch. These things can get insanely complex, like for me, like, I think I wrote this one really neat and tidy, but like, you know, it's spaghetti. It's just fucking all over the place. And inside a patch, you know, you might have, you know, sub patches where, you know, you've got more shit going on. So, you know, there's a lot of things going on, but after a bit of time, you do start to understand how this all works, and you can really see the creative potential of being able to make your own program that does nearly anything when it comes to, you know, processing some audio signals or writing files or recording audio and doing all that sort of stuff. So let's load up a beat. Going to load up a 72 BPM beat. I'm going to set our tempo to 73 thereabouts. Let's see if I need to set anything else up. It should just work. All right, there's a fresh sample, that'll do. All right, okay, so let's see what's going on. All right, so yeah, I heard a few gasps in the room. So let's pull the volume down so we can actually see what's going on here. Okay, so like I said before, from left to right, we've got time. We've got grid lines, and we've also got, we're also tracking on something up and down. Pretty damn cool, pretty damn cool. There's a lot more shit we can do with this though. We can do more. So let's map a number to our crossfader. This little number box controls quite a bit of shit. I'm also going to tinker with a couple of colors here so you can see what's going on. And all right, now we're tracking on some more stuff. Now we're tracking on, remember before we were tracking on fader clicks? Now we're able to generate some fader clicks, some dots on the screen when we're scratching. So I'm going to put this down and I'm going to do a little bit of scratching, and let's see what my scratches look like.
What's this?
Spell, did you want to come up and have a go? Regular Serato. Could you show us some any orbits? Any orbit scratches? Nice, nice. What about some stabs, Spell? Very, very, very nice. Yeah. So that's that's where I think we're going with scratching. Being able to latch on to data that is already available to us. Over the last sort of 6 months to a year, we've seen little things on the internet sort of starting to pop up where people are taking on this type of thinking, and they're using it in different capacities and stuff like that. And I think this is the sort of headspace that we should all get into together to start taking turntablism a bit further, because we don't have, like I said before, we don't have to wait for the brands to come up and and make the shit that they're going to tell us that we wanted or needed. Like portablism, everyone's going out and 3D printing their own stuff, making their own circuit board. So the future for the app at the moment, I've only shown you some basic parts of it at the moment, but the plan is this is going to be a fully fledged sort of practice tool. I've worked on parts of the system that record what you've been doing. So, Spell's little session then, I could effectively record that and play it back. Looking at Spell's waveform, if I really wanted to bite every little cut that Spell's done or something like that, I could watch it over and over again, compare it to my own. And, we've just been watching Wave Twisters. Anyone familiar with the track, say ah, 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 or ah, 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 ah. It's going to be like that, you're going to be able to sort of, question and answer with something that you want to learn, which is really, really cool. No, so Ollie just asked, will I be able to apply what you've recorded to a new sample? So can we emulate a scratch sound by loading a sample onto what we've done? We could effectively do that, but I'm not really gearing anything towards that. I'm more focusing on what you've done, recording down the movements that you've done and being able to listen to them back as a multi-track recording with the data of what you've done, and then being able to sort of develop your technique from there. I think there's a lot of emulation stuff out there, but we can take this a lot further. I think I've got one more treat to show you guys. Just because I can. We've been doing all this cool visualization stuff with scratching, and we're now deriving all sorts of useful data. Oh shit! So it means that we really are heading into the landscape where it's not far-fetched anymore to think that we can control video games with scratching. And honest to God, Spell, come and play a game. Spell, no, it's all right, it's all right. I got a high school. I'm 13. So this is where we're going, guys. Like we can effectively control anything we want with turntables. It's not crashing. It's not dying. It's forgiving. It's a forgiving mode. It means we're at the point now where I've created some of the backbones and the back doors that can pass this information sideways, so you can team up with the gaming student and game development student or something like that, and we can start making our own games for turntables. Like I've for years, I haven't done anything with it yet, but I've owned ScratchFighter.com for fucking God knows how long, because there's going to be a fucking kung fu game with scratching and turntables soon. Like I fucking guarantee it. So yeah, like thanks so much, guys, for coming out to check this thing out. It's been many years of just just thinking about the idea and ways that we can approach it. And there's been lots of failed attempts and all of that, but I think 2019 is really going to be huge for turntablism and all the other different flavors of it that have been coming up, like syntablism, like synthesis turntablism, like by Luigi Surcut, and obviously the scratch notation by Rane and all of that. It's like we can really push things really far this year, and it's not up to the big brands to do it. I'm just one guy with a bunch of ideas. Like imagine what a big company with 50 to 100 developers and all this money could do. Or conversely, like what thousands of us as open source programmers all working together on the same idea could really achieve. you know, any one of us could have an idea on how to make this better, and we should have a way of being able to develop this so that we all can have it and we all can own it. We can all make scratching better and more exciting. It just means that we'll be able to, you know, we can just add on whatever the hell we want, and it's, you know, we're not locked down to anything. So I think it's a really exciting place to be, and yeah, scratching's about to go nuts in 2019. So thanks so much for all your time, guys. So I guess to celebrate, you know, just having this thing, should I just load up the app again and we'll just have a bit of a loop jam and just see, you know, well, after Spell's done his showcase, I think we should just see what everyone's scratches look like if we're keen. So,
yeah. Are you going again?